And this is the problem you face in a world where every man seeks approval, alliances, and recognition. How do you protect yourself against the one who seeks nothing? He cannot be bribed. He cannot be shamed. He cannot be bought. He is the living embodiment of power itself. And if you are not careful, he will dismantle your authority without lifting a sword. Throughout history, rulers have feared armies, rebellions, and assassins. Yet, the most dangerous figure is not the soldier, not the conspirator, not even the tyrant. It is the man who needs no one. He is bound by no chains of loyalty, no hunger for validation, and no fear of loss. Machiavelli himself warned, "Beware of such men, for they cannot be ruled, controlled, or destroyed as easily as those who depend on others." Power is not born in the hands of those who cling to others. It rises in the soul of the man who stands alone. Imagine a world where every man seeks a throne, yet every throne trembles when the one who needs no one walks by. For dependency is the leash that rulers use to control men, and independence is the knife that cuts it. The man who depends on wealth can be starved. The man who depends on love can be betrayed. The man who depends on reputation can be destroyed by whispers. But the man who depends on nothing, he becomes untouchable. He cannot be bought, nor corrupted, nor frightened. He is free in a way that terrifies the powerful, because he belongs to no system, no master, no crowd. Men often believe freedom comes from abundance. They think that to be rich is to be free, to be admired is to be powerful, to be loved is to be complete. But these are illusions. The rich man is enslaved by fear of losing his gold. The admired man is chained to the image others hold of him. The loved man trembles at the thought of rejection. Their so-called freedom is only a gilded cage, lined with pleasures that blind them to their captivity. The man who truly understands power learns to renounce what enslaves him. He walks alone, not because he hates others, but because he will not allow others to define him. In the courts of history, I have seen princes crumble not from the sword, but from dependence. They rely on allies, courtiers, mistresses, merchants, all claiming loyalty, yet each with their own hunger. When fortune turns, these same allies become executioners. But the prince who rules himself first cannot be betrayed, for his power is not drawn from their devotion. He does not need their applause to know his worth. He does not require their praise to act. His silence commands more respect than another man's army, because his confidence is self-created. Dependence is the root of manipulation. If I wish to control you, I must first find what you cannot live without. It could be status, comfort, affection, or even peace. Once I know your weakness, your strings are in my hands. You will obey, because you fear losing that which sustains you. But the independent man offers no such advantage. Threaten his wealth, and he laughs. Take away his allies, and he remains unmoved. Spread lies about him, and he stays unbroken. He cannot be blackmailed, because he has already renounced what you would use to enslave him. That is the most terrifying strength. The power of indifference. Independence is not coldness, it is mastery. To need no one is not to reject mankind, but to rise above its weaknesses. The world worships comfort, and from comfort grows dependence. The independent man seeks discipline instead, for he knows the iron truth: comfort weakens, struggle strengthens. Every time he denies himself the easy path, he sharpens his will. Every time he resists the urge to seek approval, he solidifies his sovereignty. He turns solitude into a weapon and self-reliance into armor. His calm presence in chaos is mistaken for arrogance, but in truth, it is freedom. He has nothing to prove, because his worth is not determined by external applause. You will notice this man in every crowd, though he stands quietly. Others seek attention, he does not. Others boast of their achievements, he speaks little. Yet somehow, the room shifts when he enters. People feel his presence before he even opens his mouth. They sense that he is different, not because he acts superior, but because he depends on nothing that they do. He is not competing for their respect, and that very indifference draws their eyes. They sense that his validation comes from within, and this unnerves them. Men like this cannot be recruited or commanded easily. They are dangerous precisely because they do not crave what others crave. When you cannot be tempted, you become unpredictable, and the unpredictable man is always feared. His decisions cannot be bought. His loyalty cannot be negotiated. His strength does not waver in crisis, because his foundation lies within himself. This is why the independent man dominates without needing to dominate. His power is silent, and silence is the ultimate form of control. When others panic, he observes. When others seek allies, he calculates. While others are desperate to be seen, he remains invisible until the perfect moment to strike. Most men will never reach this level of freedom because they are too afraid of loneliness. But solitude is the crucible of power. It is in isolation that the man learns who he truly is. Stripped of the world's noise, when he no longer needs applause, he acts with clarity. When he no longer fears abandonment, he moves with confidence. He stops being reactive because nothing external holds sway over him. This transformation makes him a threat to every ruler, employer, or manipulator, because he cannot be controlled by promises, punishments, or praise. In a world ruled by dependence, independence is revolution. It is the rebellion of the mind against every invisible chain that society places on the soul. The man who walks alone, by choice, has achieved the rarest victory, mastery over himself. He does not seek the throne, because he already reigns within. He does not demand loyalty, because he does not require it. He stands, unshaken, in the storm of human desire, and the storm bends around him. Fear and respect are the twin currencies of power, yet they are not given in equal measure to all men. Most crave to be loved, some demand to be obeyed, but very few command both fear and respect without uttering a word. That rare power belongs to the man who needs no one. His independence is not only a shield, it is a weapon. For when a man stands beyond reach, others do not know whether to admire him or to fear him, and in that uncertainty lies his dominion. You see, men respect strength, but they fear detachment. They do not understand how someone can live without craving their approval. They feel threatened by his indifference, for it reveals their own dependency. A crowd may adore a leader who flatters them, but they will secretly revere the one who does not need their affection. The same man who wins applause by pleasing others will lose his crown when their mood changes. But the man who stands apart remains untouchable, for he never built his power upon their emotions. His silence weighs heavier than their cheers, and his lack of need makes their opinions meaningless. To need nothing is to reverse the natural order of manipulation. Those who crave loyalty are bound to the loyal. Those who beg for trust are prisoners of the trustworthy. But the man who requires neither operates from a position of pure strength. He holds himself as an island, self-contained and self-directed. Others will orbit around him, drawn not by affection, but by gravity. They may whisper that he is cold, cruel, or proud, yet deep down they envy him, for his self-sufficiency exposes their weakness. In the courts of power, I have watched how the slightest dependence leads to ruin. The prince who requires his ministers to flatter him becomes their servant. The general who needs his soldiers' devotion will hesitate to punish them. The merchant who fears losing favor will make foolish bargains. Yet the man who can walk away from all, at any moment, controls every negotiation. He knows that nothing external sustains his identity, so nothing external can destroy it. This unshakable certainty is what men fear most. They sense that his loyalty cannot be bought, his approval cannot be earned, and his wrath cannot be appeased. Fear is not born from violence alone. It arises from unpredictability. You can reason with the man who wants wealth, for gold will calm him. You can control the man who wants fame, for praise will sedate him. But how do you reason with a man who wants nothing? What leash can you place around his neck when he finds comfort in solitude and strength in loss? He cannot be bribed with promises or trapped by pleasures. Every weapon used by society to tame men, greed, flattery, lust, pride, fails against him. The powerless fear him, and the powerful seek to destroy him, for his existence defies their authority. Respect, however, walks beside this fear like a shadow. The independent man earns it not through charm, but through presence. His words are measured, his actions deliberate. He does not rush to prove himself, for he knows that power is never loud. His restraint unsettles those addicted to attention. They do not understand that silence can be a roar. When he speaks, people listen not out of obligation but because his speech carries the weight of a man unburdened by need. He does not argue, for he has nothing to win. He does not boast, for he has nothing to prove. His very calmness is dominance, his detachment command. Men will always try to define their strength through possession, gold, armies, allies, or reputation. But the man who is feared and respected, without needing any of these, possesses a different kind of empire, one that cannot be conquered. His control extends beyond politics or wealth. It reaches into the minds of those who encounter him. He unsettles them because he is a mirror that reflects their dependence. In his presence, they are reminded how fragile their identities are, built upon approval, comfort, and fear. And though they may despise him for this reminder, they cannot help but admire the fortress of his soul, to be respected without trying, to be feared without cruelty. This is the highest form of authority. It is the authority of the self-possessed. The world bends around such a man because he never bends toward it. He gives nothing of himself away freely, and that makes every fragment of his attention priceless. People try to decode his silence, to win his favor, to earn a glance, because his detachment grants value to what he withholds. The more he refrains, the more others desire to be acknowledged. It is not arrogance that gives him this power, it is discipline. Even the mighty tremble before those they cannot control. Kings fear the philosopher who does not seek their gold. Generals fear the soldier who does not fear death. Lovers fear the one who does not beg for love, for each represents an impossible opponent, one who cannot be subdued by reward or punishment. In every age, such men have reshaped the balance of power simply by existing. They expose that every throne stands upon the fragile need for validation. And so, the man who needs no one becomes both feared and respected. Because his power is not dependent upon the external world, his strength radiates from an inner core that cannot be shaken, manipulated, or seduced. He is the embodiment of control, not over others, but over himself. And that is why even kings will bow, quietly, before a man who has mastered the art of needing nothing. Dependence is the map of your soul that others use to find your weaknesses. When a man depends on approval, his enemies will humiliate him. When he depends on comfort, they will starve him. When he depends on love, they will abandon him. Dependence makes a man readable, predictable, and therefore easy to control. But the man who stands independent of such needs moves like a ghost, unseen, untouchable, unrestrained by the expectations that bind ordinary men. His unpredictability is not recklessness, it is strategy. He is the storm that no one can forecast, the shadow that no one can grasp. Predictable men are easy to defeat because they react according to their desires. Offer them flattery, and they melt. Threaten their reputation, and they panic. Give them comfort, and they grow complacent. They are slaves to their habits, puppets of their cravings. A man ruled by need is like a compass fixed on a single point. Once you know what he seeks, you can guide him wherever you want. But the man who needs no one, who expects nothing from the world, has no fixed direction. He cannot be led, tricked, or persuaded. He acts according to his own rhythm, and that rhythm terrifies those who cannot predict it. Unpredictability is the highest form of control because it keeps others off balance. When people cannot read you, they begin to fear you. They start imagining possibilities, and in their imagination, you grow larger than life. Even silence becomes a weapon, a pause in conversation, a look left unanswered. These simple acts drive others mad, because they cannot decipher your intentions. And when your intentions are hidden, your power multiplies. For men are not destroyed by what they know, but by what they cannot understand. To live unpredictably is not to live without purpose. It is to act with purpose so deep that no one else can see it. The independent man conceals his desires, not because he fears exposure, but because he understands that visibility invites attack. He never shows the full map of his intentions. He speaks in half-truths, moves without warning, and changes direction without explanation. Those who try to study him end up studying themselves, projecting their fears onto his silence. His unpredictability turns him into a mirror that reflects the insecurities of others. Throughout history, the most dangerous figures have been those who operated outside the patterns of their time. The warrior who refused to fight where the enemy expected him. The ruler who forgave when vengeance was anticipated. The thinker who defied the traditions that defined every mind around him. Each of them wielded unpredictability as a blade, cutting through the expectations of lesser men. Their enemies prepared for one outcome and were destroyed by another, because the unpredictable man understands a truth that the world forgets. Control is never achieved through consistency, but through uncertainty. Consistency makes men comfortable. When they can predict your moves, they relax. When they know your emotions, they manipulate them. But when you move without warning, you awaken their anxiety. They hesitate, doubt, second-guess every step. That hesitation is power. You do not need to speak louder or strike harder. You only need to remain unreadable. The strongest force in any conflict is confusion. The unpredictable man plants it, like a seed in the minds of his opponents, and it grows until they defeat themselves. This mastery of unpredictability does not come from chaos, but from discipline. The man who cannot control himself cannot be unpredictable. He is merely unstable. True unpredictability requires restraint. It demands silence when others speak, patience when others rush, detachment when others seek reaction. The independent man cultivates calmness so profound that his every move seems deliberate, even when it is not. People interpret his smallest gesture as strategy, because they cannot comprehend stillness without motive. In that misunderstanding lies his advantage. Even in relationships, unpredictability commands power. When a man does not beg for love or validation, his attention becomes rare, and rarity breeds value. When he withdraws affection, others chase it. When he gives it freely, others question it. Every act carries weight, because it cannot be anticipated. He does not play games. He simply refuses to be predictable. That refusal forces others to orbit around his behavior, adjusting themselves to his rhythm instead of the other way around. The unpredictable man does not pursue power. It bends toward him naturally. Dependence makes a man transparent. Independence makes him mysterious. And mystery is the cradle of power. The world cannot control what it cannot categorize. The more you can be defined, the easier you are to destroy. The more you defy definition, the harder you are to attack. This is why the unpredictable man often appears dangerous even when he means no harm. His very existence disrupts the comfort of those who live by routine. He stands outside their rules, and that makes him an anomaly, a living challenge to their certainty. Those who study war, politics, or philosophy all understand this truth. Predictability breeds defeat. The greatest victories belong to those who appear where they are least expected, who speak what others dare not say, who move when the world believes they are still. The man who needs no one has the freedom to do exactly that, because he has no dependencies, he owes no explanations. He does not wait for permission or validation. His freedom allows him to shift directions, to retreat, to strike, or to vanish, all without hesitation. That is why such a man becomes a threat to any system built on control. His unpredictability breaks the rhythm of manipulation. No one can anticipate his next act, and that uncertainty breeds respect, fear, and fascination. He becomes the embodiment of chaos wrapped in discipline, a force that cannot be dominated because it cannot be fully understood. And when a man reaches that state, when his actions are beyond the grasp of others, he ascends to a level of power that no army, no ruler, no society can ever contain. Power, by its nature, feeds on control, and nothing threatens control more than the man who answers to no one. Machiavelli's warning echoes through every corridor of history. Beware the one who cannot be bound. Societies, kingdoms, and hierarchies all survive through dependence. Subjects depend on rulers, rulers depend on armies, armies depend on loyalty, and loyalty itself depends on reward. This fragile web of needs sustains order. But when one man steps outside that web, when he no longer seeks approval, security, or belonging, he becomes a danger not because of violence, but because he exposes the weakness of those who rule through chains of dependence. Every power structure, no matter how strong, is built upon invisible strings. The church needs faith. The crown needs obedience. The merchant needs trust. The politician needs admiration. But the man who needs none of these things cannot be ruled, bribed, or deceived. He walks among the powerful as a mirror, showing them how frail their influence truly is. He is the heretic in the temple, the whisper in the throne room, the silent force that unravels authority without a single act of rebellion. The powerful despise him because his existence alone diminishes their illusion of control. Machiavelli observed that every prince fears what he cannot predict, and every ruler despises what he cannot possess. The independent man embodies both. He does not rebel in the open, yet his detachment challenges the very essence of dominion. When a man is owned by no system, no ideology, no promise, he cannot be corrupted. You cannot threaten a man who has already accepted loss. You cannot seduce a man who finds peace in solitude. His calm defiance is a quiet revolution. Every law, every manipulation, every hierarchy begins to tremble before the one who proves that power exists only where people consent to be ruled. Such a man becomes dangerous not through conquest, but through example. He inspires others to question what they truly need, what they truly fear. A single act of independence can ignite suspicion in the minds of those still enslaved by comfort. They begin to ask why they bow, why they obey, why they chase the illusions dangled before them. The independent man becomes the crack in the foundation of control, the first tremor before the collapse. Rulers understand this instinctively. This is why they exile the philosophers, silence the thinkers, and mock the ascetics. They fear not their armies, but their ideas. For when a man demonstrates that happiness can exist outside power, the empire begins to crumble from within. To need no one is to declare war on the system of dependency that governs mankind. It is to say, I am whole without your approval. And such a declaration is a weapon sharper than any blade. It disarms manipulation. It dismantles fear. It transforms every threat into dust, because you cannot frighten a man who has nothing to lose. Machiavelli saw this danger clearly. He understood that for a ruler to maintain control, his subjects must believe that they cannot live without him. The moment they learn otherwise, his crown becomes meaningless. Independence, therefore, is not just a personal virtue. It is political rebellion. It is spiritual defiance. It undermines the economy of fear that keeps men obedient. Those who control societies build their power upon wants and anxieties. They promise safety to the fearful, belonging to the lonely, and purpose to the lost. But the man who needs none of these things rejects the transaction entirely. He does not buy into their lies, and so their power over him dissolves. He walks free in a world of slaves, and his freedom becomes contagious. Look closely at how the world treats such men. They are not celebrated. They are ridiculed, exiled, or destroyed. Socrates was poisoned not because he wielded an army, but because his independence of thought made rulers tremble. Diogenes lived in poverty and mocked kings to their faces, and yet even Alexander the Great stood before him in awe. If I were not Alexander, the conqueror said, I would be Diogenes. That statement was not admiration. It was fear disguised as respect. Alexander could conquer nations, but Diogenes conquered himself, and that victory was greater. The warning, then, is not only for rulers but for every man who walks among them. Beware the man who needs no one, for he is beyond the reach of laws, customs, and threats. His very existence questions the meaning of authority. He may sit quietly, speak rarely, and seem indifferent to power, but that indifference is poison to tyrants. It spreads slowly, awakening others to the possibility of self-rule. Such a man becomes the seed of revolution without raising his hand. He dismantles the system not with violence, but with example. He shows that power loses its grip the moment a man stops needing it. Even in the smallest circles of life, in families, in workplaces, in friendships, the same principle holds true. Those who cannot be controlled are those who refuse to depend. The independent man does not seek to dominate others, yet his mere presence disturbs those who live through control. He threatens their illusion of superiority, their sense of purpose. They will call him cold, selfish, arrogant, anything to disguise their fear. But it is not arrogance they see, it is freedom. It is the terrifying vision of a man who cannot be owned. And that, above all, is what Machiavelli warned of: the ungovernable soul, the one who does not bend to praise or punishment, the one who exists beyond the grasp of manipulation, the one who, by standing alone, reminds every ruler that power is an illusion held together by the needs of others. When such a man walks among them, empires tremble not because he seeks their destruction, but because his very being proves they were never truly powerful to begin with. Power, as Machiavelli revealed, is never truly about crowns, armies, or gold. It is about dependence. The man who needs nothing stands beyond all of it. He is the one who cannot be bribed with wealth, seduced by flattery, or broken by loss. His silence carries more authority than the orders of kings, because he governs himself first. He commands fear through indifference, earns respect through restraint, and wields unpredictability as his greatest weapon. This is Machiavelli's ultimate warning. Independence is not merely strength, it is danger. It is the quiet fire that consumes control, the shadow that unravels authority. The man who needs no one exposes every other man's weakness, for he proves that freedom cannot be given or taken. It can only be realized. In a world where every soul is bound by hunger for validation, comfort, or belonging, the rare one who escapes becomes the most powerful of all, and the most feared. For he is beyond reach, beyond control, and beyond defeat.